So we're going to go right into the presentation and talk to you a little bit about Blade & Soul, what we're doing with the title, why we're so excited about bringing it to a Western audience. And so just to kind of preface it again, it's just a world of stunning beauty, but we are of course menaced by this great evil, and we're going to put you as the player character right in the middle of all of this. So a little background on what Blade & Soul is and who the team behind it is. And how successful it's been in Korea to date. It launched about 6 weeks ago, so we're going to give you a little insight into how well it's been doing there. So Blade & Soul is a AAA MMO franchise, the next big AAA franchise from NCSoft. It's designed by an internal development team called Team Bloodlust. And it's a true MMO that's inspired by martial arts combat right from the very beginning. It was very important for us at the very beginning of development over 5 years ago to breathe martial arts into this game. We recognize that there is a big void in the MMO space that just doesn't hit any of the themes that fans of Asian fantasy and martial arts love. So we built a game all focused on Asian fantasy and martial arts, and everything that was, every piece of the design element, every design element that was built into the game is inspired by Asian fantasy and martial arts. It's got an amazingly beautiful visual art style by a world-renowned anime and manga artist, Hyung-tae Kim. And we're extremely excited by what he brings to the game, as well as some new game mechanics for movement called Jingong, and also an amazingly personal story of vengeance. So Team Bloodlust is headed up by producer-director James Bay, who, if you're familiar with the Lineage and Lineage 2 franchises, was very instrumental in the development of those titles, so a great background. And again, Hyung-tae Kim as our art director just provides an amazing visual style to the game. And he's also provided great work for other games such as Magna Carta and The War of Genesis, so he's not new to the gaming space. As I had mentioned, Blade & Soul launched a few weeks back on June 30th specifically in Korea, and it was extremely well received. When open beta started about a week and a half prior to that, it was so well received, in fact, that it knocked off Diablo 3 and League of Legends off of the #1 spot at all PC cafes. So they measured on hours played, and it knocked off those two huge franchises. And since launch, it's been consistently still #1 title in Korea. So we're extremely excited about how excited the fans are in Korea about this game. Consistently, we've seen over 200,000 concurrent users in the world of Blade & Soul, and we've peaked at over 230,000 users at any one time within the game world, and that's just a large number of concurrent users. So again, super excited about how well it's been received, but we're also thrilled with how well it's been received by outlets in the Korean space. Not only have gaming outlets picked up how successful Blade & Soul has been, but we've also seen non-gaming outlets pick up on Blade & Soul's popularity. You see here Digital Times, Financial Times have all picked up on the popularity and the excitement that fans have for Blade & Soul in Korea. So our goal here is obviously to be talking with folks such as yourselves and start building that excitement for Blade & Soul to the Western audience and introducing it to the Western audience and letting them know how exciting this game really is. To do that though, we got to help you understand why Blade & Soul is important. We've got thousands of other games here at Gamescom just this week. So why is this game really going to stand out? And we have a great story for you. Asian fantasy is a big void, as I had mentioned, in the MMO space. When I think of Asian fantasy, I define that as that supernatural martial arts lore that's really based on that Asian fantasy type worlds that are made famous in movies such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Hero, and House of Flying Daggers. And we know those are immensely popular movies. Not only are they extremely popular, but there's also a huge number of martial arts enthusiasts in the world. There isn't a game that really ties all that together in the MMO space to date. And so that is what really we felt was a big gap in the MMO space, and we think Blade & Soul really fills that gap very well. It just breathes an amazingly beautiful world that's true Asian fantasy and inspired with martial arts throughout. We're going to talk about story, again about some art style and give you some examples, and we'll talk more about the martial arts inspired combat as well as mobility and PvP. So the story arc, obviously there's a huge global story, good versus evil, dark versus light, big bad guys coming back into the world, and we're going to put you in the middle of that. But also with every great Asian fantasy story, if you think about all those movies I talked about, there's also a very personal story of vengeance. Typically, your sensei is killed, your family or your clan has been murdered, and it builds this story of revenge, and we've brought that into Blade and Soul. At the very beginning of the game, and some of the cutscenes that you will see when we send you the information, your village is attacked, your clan members are all killed, and then you see your clan master who, in an act of sacrifice, chooses not to defeat the antagonists and the bad guys, because he tries to save you. And in so doing, he ends up sacrificing himself and dies. And then you're thrust into the ocean, left for dead. And so, of course, it starts off a very personal story of vengeance and revenge that will take you throughout the entire game. So not only do you participate in this global story arc, but you're going to also have a very personal storyline of vengeance. So again, very reminiscent of Asian fantasy stories, movies, and lore. And the great thing about MMOs, that story never has to end. So we're going to continue to add episodic content that will continue your personal story for a very long time. Hyungtae Kim, amazing artist, very, very famous in the world of anime and manga. You can see here some concept character art that he does, which is extremely beautiful, very detailed. And here you see a concept environment piece that not only does he do beautiful characters, but he creates very emotionally driven environments. You can see this is dark, gloomy, very detailed. And here how we translate that into the game world itself, and you're going to see more of that in the demo. And then, of course, marrying the character artwork with the environments is very critical, and it's done in a very beautiful, exciting, and very unique way. Okay, martial arts, obviously, as I had mentioned, from the very onset of development over 5 years ago, martial arts was a core theme, and we wanted players to feel like they were supernatural martial artists. So when you watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and you see Chow Yun-Fat do his amazing, aerial combat, running on treetops and fighting in a very supernatural way, we wanted you to feel like that when you were in combat, doing martial arts in the game. So at the same time, we didn't want to just create another MMO that has, you point your target at the character, at the bad guy, or you tab lock on them and you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over and over again. We didn't want to do the same kind of combat. We wanted to make it very engaging and take some skill in order to really master it, just like true martial arts. So if you look at fighting games on the consoles, Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, I'm a button masher on those, and I can do pretty decently mashing buttons. But if I really want to be good, I need to learn the combinations. I need to learn A, A, Y, B, up, down, whatever. I never could learn that. But we've brought that, can you go back up? We've brought that into the game world by bringing combos into the game. So not only do you hit, you don't just hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but based on context, scenarios, active countering, triggering different situations, you can implement very exciting combos that allow you to do these martial arts skills that do feel supernatural and over the top. Not only that, but there are 6 skill-based classes, and each of them have a very distinct style and feel to combat. And by combining skills, so if I party up with a friend who's a different class, I can combine my combos with their combos, and it really creates even more elaborate and over-the-top, supernatural type martial art abilities, and it's just amazing to see. So when you have some skill behind it, and you start learning those combos, it really does put you over the top, and it gives you that edge. The great thing about that is we bring you through that tutorial process. Throughout the game, you will learn how to implement these combos. You will practice these combos. So it's not inundating you with, you got to learn 10 combos at one time. You're going to meet up with a mentor throughout your experience. They're going to teach you 1 or 2 combos, and you're going to master those, and you'll continue on your line of questing. Then you're going to learn a couple more combos, and you'll practice those. So you're able to easily learn and adapt those combos into your fighting skills and prowess. So it really makes it an easy journey for somebody who wants to become a good martial artist in the world of Blade and Soul. Not just a laundry sheet of here's 20 combos, go learn them. We also know gamers are competitive, and this is really important. Gamers are competitive at their core, and whether or not they want to compete one-on-one with another player, and I want to test my mettle against theirs and see if I'm the best in the server, I also want large-scale factions. I want big war battlegrounds where I can compete with a group of my fellow friends and my fellow factions and compete against others. And so we're offering both of those types of solutions. We built those games and into the storylines into the game. But we also know that there are gamers out there who are not competitive against other players. They're still competitive, they're just competitive in a different way. They're competitive because they want to reach the end cap first. They're competitive because they want to be the first to master crafting. They're competitive because they want to finish a dungeon first. They're competitive because they want to have the most costumes available to them. So there are other elements of competition that gamers inherently are competitive. They're just not competitive in the same way that everybody else is. So for those people who like those sort of things, we don't want them to feel forced into PvP. So it's a very optional thing for them. It's just as easy as changing a costume or what's called a dobok in the game. I can flag myself as available for PvP and I want to participate in that by wearing a certain costume. I can take that costume off and now I don't have to worry about being ganked by somebody who is going to come over and attack me and ruin my gameplay experience and stop me from progressing on my goal. If I just want to quest or work on my crafting, I can do that and not worry about being attacked by another player. So it's a very optional choice for them to make, and they can choose to participate or not. And they can, anytime they can switch back and forth. So it's very easy for them to engage in PvP or pull out of PvP and experience the game they want to play.